Hello, Maverick fans. Welcome to another edition of the Mavpuckcast, a summer edition of the Mavpuckcast with Jason.
And Jon.
And I can't say as always because it's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
I know.
I'm telling you what.
People forgot about us.
I totally disconnected from hockey. I remember there was
I don't know about from hockey.
I tell you, back in the CCHA days when Mavpuck was first around, there was a fan I knew who ran a Michigan site. I think it was called Mishco, like USCHO. And so he focused on all the Michigan college teams.
Okay.
And he would talk about after the season was over, he would just completely disconnect from hockey until fall.
Wow.
And so I kind of had one of those things where I was just I was so tired.
It's been less than a week since they gave away the Stanley Cup, and I'm already going through withdrawals. Scratching my arms.
I watched
itching.
normally we watch a lot of that. I watched hardly any of that.
Of the Stanley?
Yeah.
Oh. That's because Gensel wasn't in it, right?
It was because I'm one of the fans that follows, every Jake Gensel exploit, and I post every time he scores a goal. I actually like the fact that it seems to be different teams every year. That's what makes NHL hockey fun.
I mean, there was a lot of talk. I think a lot of that just comes from I'm not going to say miracle run, but the incredible effort that St. Louis put in. I mean,
Sure.
They literally start the calendar year as the worst team in the NHL and finish as the best team in the NHL.
That's crazy.
In 6 months.
I know.
So they did a good job. I hate to say it because they have Ryan O'Reilly, and I don't know, he was not a nice guy when he was in Colorado, so I still have a bad taste in my mouth. I'm told he's gotten a lot better, but I was so glad when he left because he just was. Him and Duchesne were cancers in that organization, and it seems like they really kind of found their way when they left. But I had a hard time cheering for him.
I know.
But then it's Boston, and Boston.
It's Boston,
Marchand, and
Boston
I'm like,
fans.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So
yeah.
Yeah, it was a.
It would have been cool
rough.
though if Boston had, because we're heading on a trip out there in in September. So
I told you we could have stayed at the Garden with the Stanley Cup.
I know, we could have gotten some. I could have gotten some Stanley Cup swag.
I know,
a shirt or something. Yeah, it would have been great.
Not to go to third world countries to find that 2019 Boston
right.
Bruins Stanley Cup champs.
Uh-huh.
All right, so stuff people actually want to hear about. What are you drinking?
Yeah, this is after a long break. This is the segment everybody misses. Yeah, I'm drinking because it's summer, so we got to have a summery drink. So I'm drinking.
Yeah, that's what you told me.
Hint water that has pineapple flavoring. So it's water infused with.
What I want to know is it a hint of water or is it a hint of flavor?
I don't know.
I hope it's a hint of flavoring, because if it's just a hint of water, that's going to seem kind of syrupy.
Oh yeah, it's kind of terrible. It just tastes like bottled water with a very, very, very faint bit of pineapple. Yeah, that was highly disappointing. I thought there was going to be more flavor to that. So it's kind of like when you've had a cup of lemonade and there's just a little tiny bit, and then all the ice has melted and there's no flavor. I just bought that. So yeah, that's what I got.
I went, since you said we had to do something summer-like, I dug through the refrigerator and found Goose Island, cucumber, lime, and mint radler.
Well, that definitely sounds like some sort of summery kind of.
Sounds like I'm going to go for sushi and they give me cucumber water, and I'm like, why is there a vegetable growing in my water?
Yeah.
Now I have that same vegetable in my beer. And it tastes about the same.
Okay.
Yeah, you can really taste the cucumber.
Okay,
I think they're lying to me on the lime and mint part, but
at least you can taste it, because this pineapple water.
Well, you're welcome to take a swig of this.
No. It's summer. I'm feeling good. Lots of sun, lots of vitamin D. I don't feel like I need alcohol at this point in the preseason.
We'll see halfway through this season we sit.
Yeah, we'll see how. Yeah, exactly. We'll see what happens this fall.
We'll turn you to the dark side eventually.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's talk about some UNO stuff.
Okay.
Shout out to our A+ stellar fans, yeah?
Yeah.
So the news came down that it was all NCAA, wasn't it? It wasn't just NCHC, that we were 6th.
Yes. In attendance.
First in loudness.
Yeah, first.
That's true. I'm making
no,
that part
I don't
up.
know. I don't know the update to Apple Watch.
I know when we get
system.
that, we're gonna.
Yeah, you and I are.
We've already got plans to test.
We're gonna be recording the decibels and talking about it on the podcast. So in addition to the drinking segment, we're gonna have this week's loudness at UNO hockey. We are 6th now. I don't know how that compared to like where we were like 20 years ago in attendance.
Well, it was really bad at what was the CenturyLink at the time.
It was bad at the CenturyLink.
Which was compounded by the fact that it's like a
right.
14,000 seat arena and you've only got 3,000 people in it.
Yeah, and I feel like we could be a little bit higher just based on our capacity. We were kind of down a little bit.
We were down from last year.
Yeah, we definitely were.
If our average attendance was the same as last year, we would have been in the top 4, I think is what I read.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so we dropped a little bit, which is the sad thing. But
I think our average attendance was 15 ahead of Penn State.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's rough to take the downslide on that, but then it's also a down year. So, I mean, who wants to go see their team lose? So I can kind of get how maybe it trailed off, or there were games there that I kind of wondered how many people.
Even the big name teams that we played that normally we would draw big numbers in years past, we didn't really do that this year. Part of it was the weather didn't, cooperate.
It's probably the worst weather I think we've seen.
It was terrible weather.
It seemed like every time there was a hockey game, there was some sort of crazy storm.
So we averaged what? Do you remember what the numbers were? It was 5,000 some.
50, 54 something.
Something, which we obviously have far more capacity than that. So hopefully things can get turned around in weekend.
So there's room for those of you listening to the podcast who don't
I have the
tickets.
exact number, 5,816.
58, so that's better, yeah.
Yeah, North Dakota was first with 11,398.
Which we can't get to because our arena doesn't, and we can't get past Wisconsin
10,044. Nope.
Right.
Minnesota 7,944.
Can't get past them.
Yeah, and we saw pictures this season of a lot of empty seats at Gopher games.
And that's the question. Like, this cannot be like actual attendance. This has to be ticket sales because there's no possible way you can tell me that Minnesota averaged that from the games that I've seen on TV.
There were quite a few.
There were quite a few.
Which is crazy when you think about when you think about where Minnesota was in attendance, 10 years ago.
In their heyday, they were the place to go see.
And there's lots of debate about whether ticket costs incremental increases over the years is having an impact on that, and if the team doesn't perform at a high level.
Well, I know the marketing department at the University of Minnesota did a study of before and after the Wild coming back. After the North Stars had left, Minnesota was, pretty much the game.
They were it. Yeah, they were the only game in town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all those things factor in. And,
yeah.
UNO doing well in other sports will inevitably have some effect on attendance, even if they're not competing seasons. You're still going to have people who are, maybe I want to spend my money on some other sport. And,
sure.
When you get something like soccer goes to an NCAA tournament, baseball wins conference championship and makes the regionals and stuff. And, those are the types of things that people start saying, well, I've only got so much money for tickets. Do I want to get season tickets to hockey or baseball?
And plus other entertainment options, whether it's, Creighton basketball or Husker football, all those things.
And concerts at Ralston and
movies, everything else. Yeah.
So it all factors in, but I think, a good season, and hopefully, we've got the support of the fans. I think they do, at least. And So, season ticket renewals just finished.
Yeah.
I don't know that they'll ever post a number. It would be great if they would to say
It always
renewals
seems
are
like
this, but I'm not so sure they want to.
The common answer is, season ticket renewals were 90%.
Yeah.
But the question is, year upon year, if it's 90%, like 3 or 4 years in a row, then how much has your season ticket base decreased?
You still lost 10%.
Yeah,
year
since
over year over
2016.
year over year. I mean, eventually we're going to get to 90% of 10, and that's not going to be a good situation.
Yeah, and it's a good reminder because Saturday was the deadline date, correct? Okay. Was it? I don't know. Was Saturday the deadline? Or was it?
But I'm sure they can still get in. I mean.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they can.
If you are listening to this going, oh, shoot.
Yeah, I don't think they've given away your tickets yet.
Well,
but you might want to check on that.
Depends on where your seats are, but
because I mean, I've had friends who waited till August to renew their tickets, and then their tickets weren't available anymore. So
yeah. And then it was a bit of a debacle this year. I mean, it was really late that they sent out notices
because a lot of us were waiting to get notification.
Yeah, I think mostly just because we anticipated that based on prior years, we should have had it.
Yeah, last year in particular was pretty early. It was like right after the season they got that information out. So you had contacted me and said, had I heard anything? And like I told you, I had completely disconnected from everything. So I had no idea if they had or not. So I had asked Bridge, and she said, no, they haven't, and nothing's come out yet. And so when it did finally come out, we all got an email, and we went onto our Mav accounts on the website.
Right.
And the season ticket renewals were there, but it hadn't applied the discount for the playoff tickets that we haven't used for several cycles now. Nor did it have the payment options, which a lot of us do the multi-month payment option.
Spread it out over some time, yeah.
So how long was it later? Like maybe a week later or something? 2 weeks later that they finally got?
It's like from the time that I
went back and looked email.
From my first phone call to the box office asking when are we going to get season ticket information, it was 7 weeks.
Okay. How long was it? Do you remember this? Because I'm not in charge of the tickets. From the time we got the renewal email to the time when our accounts had the multi-month payment option.
It was like, we didn't get that until, at least I didn't see it in our account until I think 5 or 6 days before the deadline. It's like
it was. We had to wait a while, and then somebody.
Because they first set it out, and we were like, "Oh, perfect, we'll go renew." And then we had this weird thing that there were extra tickets put on our account because this whole debacle of we'll talk about, but this whole debacle, and we ended up with extra tickets on our account, which we didn't need.
But you had just inquired to see if maybe they were available.
So, yeah, right? I mean, I think that's. Let's get into that.
Okay.
So the ineptness in that department was really annoying this year because, like, I would call and get information.
And let's qualify this by saying we lost the ticket manager.
Well, we didn't find that out until I didn't find that out till later when we were going through things, and then all of a sudden there's job postings and stuff.
But then we find out that the ticket manager was gone.
Right.
And the ticket manager that we'd had had actually done a really good job, and then he was gone, so then it was kind of right.
There was a few years we had a really good one, and then it's kind of dicey, and then we got another I thought pretty good one.
Yeah, I thought he was solid.
He's left.
And then so there wasn't really anybody kind of.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on internally, but at the same point, like it's best to say nothing than to give false information.
Sure.
So what I ended up doing was like I call and I'm like, well, when is this going to happen? Because we've had issues in the past with
billing,
and then they don't we set up the payment plan. They take a couple payments out, and all of a sudden they don't, and then they reneged on our tickets, and we didn't have tickets anymore because they didn't want to withdraw the money. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
so I'm really worried about this.
I remember that. So, that was a couple seasons ago. Not to interrupt you, but that was a couple seasons where we did the multi-month payment plan, and then like in January,
they stopped it, and then well, ours happened twice that year because ours happened in the summer.
You contacted them, and when you contacted them, then Bridget got on, and the same thing happened with her. It happened with other people too.
Yeah.
So
It was weird.
Then we got that figured out. Yeah,
So-
it was strange.
So I'm concerned about it, a little bit, hypersensitive to it. So I
Right.
call him, and the guy's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good information. At least I know they're coming out. Or
Right.
in his case, he's like, well, we sent you emails. Haven't you got our emails? And I'm like, no, I haven't got any emails. So now I'm on the phone with our internet service provider trying to figure out why they're blocking their emails.
Yeah,
and,
yeah, you're emailing
like,
me. Did you get the email? And
I'm
I'm like, no. And you're like,
why is no one getting these emails?
who's your email provider? And I'm like, well, I don't think that.
You get the same one. Right.
Yeah, but it was like, but yeah, I don't think I use that email from the provider. I use a different one. So
Right.
it was like, that wasn't dependent on that.
really
So then
weird.
I'm just like, no,
And
we didn't get
Then
it.
we get on the forums and I'm putting stuff out there and it's like, well,
Right.
if someone else has heard something different, a different date that things are coming out and a different this and that. And I'm sitting here going, who there knows what's going on? Because clearly we're all talking to someone different and
Right.
none of them know anything. And it was in that debacle that they had, because you guys had done the special, the Black Friday deal.
We'd done a in January,
Right.
right? They did that black, or
No, it was
It was
November.
the holiday season, but then the tickets were
Starting
after
in,
the first of the year.
well, that last series in December,
Yeah,
was
was
the
it
first
the was
series,
it the Anchorage series?
the Anchorage series.
So yeah, it was for however many the rest of the seasons were, and you got like a really good deal, didn't it? Turn out to be
Right.
like it was some ridiculously
It
low
was
number, like
ridiculous.
$5 or $10 per seat
like
per
a
game
dollar
or
a
something.
game or something.
It was.
It wasn't that low, I know, but it was
Oh
like-
my god. Yeah, so we
It
had
really
the
made me
seat-
mad that I
So
had
we had the
season
seats
tickets.
by Jason and Jolene. And then I think that like completely threw them off because I felt like we were like every time we gave somebody tickets, we were like invading Jason and Jolene's space. And
Nah.
so it was. So then I'm like, man, we probably should have just gotten these things like in the opposite end of the arena. But then occasionally Jason and Jolene used the tickets. So then it was useful when we had them because then we could just transfer
Yeah.
them to the. So it worked out pretty well. But you had inquired because I had wondered if you were potentially going to buy those seats this year and have 3 more seats.
And I mean, Julian and I had talked about, what we were going to do with seats, but we had landed on like, we're just going to keep our same 4. We like
You got
4.
4, but you thought maybe 7 because your parents sat.
Her parents sit right
next-
behind us. They're going to keep theirs.
Yeah.
So
So
that
you
all
thought-
worked out well. But so he says, well, if you want to move, I can move you closer to the middle by putting you into that row. And like he mentioned the tickets. I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. Those are the tickets you guys had. And we hadn't talked. So I didn't
Right.
know if you were thinking you were going to keep them or not. And I'm like,
No.
well, I know who had those season tickets last year. And I don't know that they're giving them up. Are you sure they're giving them up? And he goes, well, I don't know. I mean, they haven't done their renewals yet. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't you not give them away? And I know the guy, so I'll contact him and I'll see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean,
I did not
technically-
say anything about putting those on my account.
Yeah, I mean, technically they weren't because they were the Black Friday. I didn't really consider them, season tickets.
Mhm.
But I would have been totally fine if you got. I mean, I just didn't know that you wanted to pay for
Right.
7 seasons. I mean, we have
No, we didn't.
we have 5 season tickets already, so I didn't want
You didn't need any more.
3 more
Right.
at full price.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it was
Well, and no,
the whole
they,
season ticket thing just been.
they normally do a 9 payment option, like a
which
9.
They didn't do it all, right?
They didn't probably because it got out so late. They didn't want people
That's what
paying
they
into
forgot.
February or whatever next.
Right.
So this I think 5 was the most.
5 is the most you could do.
Right, which that'll get you paid up by. I think it started this month. So
It started in June, so
so
June,
it'll
July,
take you
August, September, October.
October.
Right.
Everybody will be paid up, which
So-
is probably a good
Which
idea.
really is the way, because they do things like that for NHL season tickets and
Sure.
stuff. And the goal is always to have you paid up by the time the season starts.
Yeah, we do that for the pool Bridget and I operate.
Mm-hmm.
We used to just do lump sum for the
Membership,
family,
right.
single, couple plans. But now we do a multi-month payment. So then they're already paid up by the time the pool opens for the season.
right.
And that way, yeah. And so you give them a little incentive, but it's kind of nice when they have those multi-month payments. It just makes it easier on people to do.
So I think it's a smart thing. I mean, we use the 9 just because it's nice to be able to spread it out.
It's
and I don't have to think
available.
about it, but
yeah, it's available. It's easy. It's handy. I mean, we could write a check for the lump sum.
I know that's one of those things. Like they don't charge you an extra fee for it, so I'm kind of like,
Yeah, I agree.
All right,
you're
whatever.
not charged like exorbitant interest or anything. We don't want to give them any ideas to do that.
So
Yeah.
through all of this, the other
Yeah.
thing that's come up, and this full disclaimer, is totally hearsay.
Okay, it's a total
There's
rumor.
no official word on any of this, but
Okay.
I've heard from multiple people that the digital ticket and that like card thing that they've done before is going away.
Credit card type ticket.
And we're going to end up with just straight paper tickets.
So we're going back to the future here.
Yeah, we're going back in time. A little DeLorean action where I have to forget my tickets and drive halfway home.
You know, at first I was thrown off when each seat had its own like credit card ticket with QR code that they
at the beginning of the season.
At the beginning of the season.
Right.
But honestly, I kind of got used to having those as the season wore on.
I mean,
I kind of liked it actually.
Yeah, I mean, go back to the first couple episodes of the podcast. It was kind of a routine thing for us of like,
yeah,
look at all these ways we found to hack the system. So those were kind of my concerns and that, but I, for one, am used to the digital systems, and I use the tickets in my wallet, and that was like crazy easy. And I loved it because I never had to remember.
So you used it in the Apple Wallet on
my phone,
on your iPhone.
So it was great. I always have my phone.
Yeah. So basically, it like gives you a little,
it's a little ticket,
virtual little.
Yeah, it's a ticket in your wallet, and I walk up and I show it to them. They scan it, and I walk in.
Yeah.
The only problem I had was the first time because I walked up and showed my phone, and the older lady that was scanning tickets kind of looked at me like, "What the heck are you showing this to me for?"
Yeah, completely threw.
Where's your thingy? I'm like, no, just scan this. We're good. Oh, okay.
So here's my. So since we're going back to paper tickets, does that also mean we're getting rid of the clear bag policy as far as
Can we please?
Women can bring in an actual purse again, right? Right?
Oh my.
We can only hope. I mean, that'd be nice. Let's just dial this thing back.
We're gonna roll back time. We roll back time.
We're gonna dial this thing back to 2017. What do you think about going back to paper tickets, though? I don't know how
Like I said, my problem a lot of times is just I have a tendency to forget things. And there were a number of times when we had the ticket booklets that we had to go back because I forgot them. And honestly, it's kind of cumbersome.
It is. That's the thing.
Like we had one book per ticket, and like one book per seat, and it's like, okay, now I gotta get this one out and flip to the right game, right?
Yeah.
Then I gotta get the next one out, flip to the right game.
Well, and as you know, so here's the thing, as you're well aware, Bridget likes when we do get those ticket books with the paper tickets, she likes to keep those things intact.
We did too, right?
Okay, so because of the clear bag policy last season, which essentially kind of limited what you could bring into the game, okay?
Right.
If we go back to those, 8.5 by 11, roughly spiral bound ticket books, then you got to try and transport those things into the game if you're people like us who want to keep your ticket books intact. The nice thing about the cards was that you just got the card and the cards were attached to like the lanyard version of the ticket.
Right.
And so it was more compact. You could easily stuff those into your clear plastic bag.
And they were like they were laminated basically.
Yeah, so if you got them stuffed in a bag with other stuff, they're not going to get, bent
right.
Or
you spill your beer on one.
Yeah.
Because that's never happened to anyone in this room.
I'm sure it's happened to you. Yeah. So that's the thing. My feeling is if we're rolling back and going to paper, we need to roll back the clear bag policy. We need to just, rock it like it's 2017. Right?
Sounds good to me.
I think that'd be good. So yeah, I don't know. I liked the digital tickets with the QR code. I had no problem with those. So I'd like it if they did it again.
Well, you mentioned the ease of being able to transfer those as well. And I think that's kind of one of the nice things is that we were in Minnesota and I had tickets to the game because we were out there for the hockey tournament.
Yep.
And someone had finally said, yeah, I'll take your tickets. Well, if they're paper tickets, how do I get those right?
Yeah, I mean,
the digital tickets are like, this is awesome. You're going to get an email, click the link, get your tickets.
Maybe you can still transfer those digitally. But what I will say is it was kind of nice when we got the Black Friday deal on those extra tickets. Like sometimes when your friends
Right.
use the tickets, it was very easy for Bridget to transfer
Right.
those extra tickets to them.
Exactly.
And I would say the credit card option is actually nice, like for my dad, because he has one of our seats and he comes to the games. It was very nice for him to have a card that he could just keep in the wallet, because he brings his wallet with him everywhere. But sometimes when we would give him the tickets for each game, because his was the one ticket that we would tear out, sometimes he'd leave it in the car in like the little center console thing or at home or somewhere. So this way, it was always with him, and it was just, I think it was a much nicer.
I saw a lot of people walking in pulling it out of their wallet.
Oh, absolutely. But it's possible a lot of people prefer the kind of the old way, especially like businesses, for example, corporations that bought this corporate seats. It might have been easier for them to give their employees,
Yeah,
stop
so then
by
you get
and
into
see,
the, like,
Marcy in accounting, and you can get
your tickets. Yeah.
tickets for Friday night's game.
But then again, it's not that hard to have a system in place where they can just email it to anyone in the company. It's not like you don't have their email.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm not confident that it is that much easier.
Well, and didn't we hear that, like, Ticketmaster was requiring them to go with this, credit card QR code
at the beginning
system?
of the year. That was what we were told, is that with them going to with Ticketmaster taking over the ticketing system, that was the requirement, was that they're going digital, which makes sense because everything else I know, that's like concerts and stuff I know too, like very few of them are paper tickets anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, even things like Maha, when we went to Maha last year, Maha was a digital ticket.
So
which was like crazy easy, because I'm like, I got my phone. I always have my phone.
Yeah.
You just go in and I don't have to keep my ticket, so I can go in and leave and go in and leave.
Sure.
I always have my phone. You just keep scanning my phone.
Yeah. So if the rumors that you have heard are true, that would be a very interesting turn of events.
Yeah, and I'm not. I mean, they might be doing it because people put up an uproar about not liking the digital tickets, especially people maybe who aren't, to use the crazy terms of digital natives and stuff. I mean, those types of people maybe put up a big fuss about it.
Could be.
To Kemp and some of those that they've known for a long time and stuff. But I don't remember a survey that asked anything about tickets, and so it's like, is it really a representation of the 4,000 people who have season tickets?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if you asked me at the beginning of the season, I might have said fairly indifferent, possibly lean towards the way it's always been.
Right.
Mostly just because I like the idea of having like something commemorative that I can have.
Yeah,
season after season.
I like having some of that memorabilia. Sure.
But then I had someone come up with this great idea of being able to like frame the little cards and have each card from each year all in one, 11 by 14 picture frame basically. And now I'm like, well, that's kind of a cool idea. And with the ease of being able to get in, I don't really want to go back to a paper ticket. I like the digital stuff.
I know.
So
I don't know. It would be who knows? It'll be fascinating to see what happens.
And they're going to have to do it for all sports at Baxter, right?
Yeah.
And then you got printing costs and...
Yeah, and as somebody who is, we do graphic design in our marketing communication business, printing costs are... You've got the printing costs, there's a lot more layout and design that you have to do with individual print tickets than you have to do with one credit card, where you're just... automating the seat number and the section and the row on it and the particular QR code, as opposed to ones where you're having to do, like, as people may or may not know, our season tickets would have like the logo of the other team. Or like a different player's photo on every ticket. So
even simple stuff. You now have to have a date and time on every ticket. Yeah. And a lot of times the games are TBD. So then it's like, well, now they have a ticket, but the ticket doesn't tell them what time to show up. It just tells them what day to show up. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into that now have to be done. And then I think, not having been through this and done through this, I would imagine that it's a more difficult process to now coordinate, all right, this larger book of tickets
Yeah.
These 3 go together, or in your case, these 5 go together,
Yeah.
and these 2 people are eligible to pick them up, as opposed to, I mean, it's already prepackaged pretty much. I mean, what we got was basically, I'm imagining, probably came from the printer.
Yeah.
Because it was just the card thing that had the lanyards and the credit card size things on them.
And they had a perforation, and you could, pop them off of each other. Yeah, I
print on the envelope seat number, and you just got one person going through them, going some poor freshman intern.
It all depends, but I would imagine that the spiral bound books are probably more money than the cards. I would have to believe that.
Yeah,
just based on my experience designing those products over the years. So
the technology behind the digital tickets isn't new. You're not having to really reinvent anything there. So yeah. So we'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see if Jason's just causing a minor panic here on.
Let's let everyone freak out
on
and
the podcast. It's summer. Yeah,
they got nothing else to do.
we need to get the heart racing again a little bit.
We need some excitement.
Yeah, it's the off season.
They're also going to play inline.
Wait, it's not the off season. I've been told by Bridget many times it's not the off season. It's always preseason. Yeah. Once the season ends, it's preseason again. Begins. Yeah.
So then the big preseason news is the draft.
The draft.
So Friday, well, I should probably specify date, right? Since who knows when people listen to this thing.
Yeah.
Friday the 21st.
Yeah.
Starts the NHL draft.
Is it in Vancouver?
It is.
Okay.
UNO does not have a pick. It's all NHL teams. So for those of you going, when do we pick? No, it's not the way this works.
Based on our season, we're picking first.
We lost the lottery, though.
That'd be really cool if, like college sports, just like we had the NCHC draft, where you just in any junior league, based on how you finished, you could pick among the available players. So Miami goes first, UNO goes second.
Yeah, that would be.
And I'll tell you what, though. I'll tell you this. With our second pick, we might have picked recruit Isaiah Seville.
If we got the second pick, probably.
Yeah. We need a goaltender. He's coming in. We have 3 new goaltenders this year. Isaiah Seville looks like...
I guess that's the news to make sure people know before we get into that, is that Tomek is going to play over in Europe.
Yeah, you and I called that.
So he will not be coming back.
Months ago, like...
When they let him go over to play in the world tournament over there, I'm like, he ain't coming back. I remember,
and everybody thought we were saying they're like, he's going to start next year. No.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. People at work were like, really? Like, he's going to come back, right? I'm like, nope.
They're like, yes, he's going to come back, and like, nope, not going to happen.
I had that standard line of like, well, it's a possibility, but
you gave your diplomatic.
I tried to
your diplomatic coach speak politician answer.
Yeah,
it's always a possibility that he'll come back. We just don't know at this point. And this is where John throws in. It'll be interesting to see. We've got 3 freshman goaltenders this season,
so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
It will be interesting to see what happens. You're damn right.
And we got
Isaiah Seville,
another Alaska kid.
We've got another.
Seville.
Who's our?
Seville's from Alaska.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Man, I should have known that.
Yeah.
God, so we got down on my. You can tell it's June.
An Alaskan goaltender Seville, and an undersized goaltender.
Who's the undersized goaltender? Is that the most recent one?
The most recent
one. Jacob Zab.
Zab, that's right. Yeah, I was trying to I wanted to call him Zap, but I didn't want to offend the kid.
Isaiah Seville is the real pro prospect goaltender that we have.
And he will be a draft.
Right. Then
there's no doubt about it, he'll be drafted. Right now, most of the projections have him second round. I mean, we can get into where, I guess, I'm anal nuts around these things. I think the best position I've seen him in has been 38.
Yeah, you kept me up to date on that.
I've got him. I think he'll slide.
Okay.
I think he's going to slide late second. I've got him somewhere in the like 50s, 60s, depending on which team decides they need a goaltender at that point in time. With the depth in the draft, goaltending is actually the one that there's a clear number one, and then it's kind of, we'll see after that.
Sure. And so he's looking like our most like realistic draft pick among the guys who are coming in. And then the other one that we had heard about last winter showing up on some of the scouting lists was Kirby Proctor, who's a defenseman who played for the Des Moines Buccaneers in the USHL last year. What's interesting is some of the recruiting kind of database sites have Proctor listed as a 2020 recruit, but UNO had posted when he signed his national letter of intent. I'm assuming he comes in this fall. Are you assuming the same thing?
Everything I've seen suggests he comes in this fall. If he gets drafted, that's going to be a guarantee thing.
Yeah.
If he gets drafted, it's going to be late. It'll be
down there.
6th round.
This is different for us. This is more like the early years of UNO hockey where we would have a couple guys on the roster who were draft picks, but most weren't. Then during the Dean Blaze years, we had, a lot more.
He was looking for that NHL talent. He wanted kids that were getting
NHL caliber forward,
right,
and defensemen. So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how that all kind of transpires next season. But yeah, 3 freshman goaltenders is going to make it very, very interesting.
Yeah.
You got
That's a word.
Austin Roden is played in the. Did he play in the? Yeah, he played for the Merit Centennials in the BCHL.
He's got probably I'd say the most experience.
Yeah.
At what might be a comparable level.
Yeah.
I think Seville's the talent.
Yeah, Seville's definitely the talent.
Zab is that sleeper that
he's going to be one of those guys that there's going to be a game where Zab ends up playing, and it's possible he does really well, kind of like an Alex Blankenberg.
Yeah, you're going to throw him in randomly up in
North
North Dakota, and he's going to get a shutout.
He's going to have a great game, and then everybody's going to be like,
why isn't he number one?
Why isn't he number one? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which that would be a great thing to have. But I honestly I think Seville and Roden will get a lot of looks this season. I don't think they're going to go the route. I could be wrong. It all depends on if you're concerned about, Seville deciding to leave early after a season or so. But I would imagine that both of those guys will get a lot of playing time this season. It'll be interesting. I don't know, because the last 4 years, basically it was.
I think it goes in. I'm sure Coach will formally disagree with me.
Okay.
But I think that you go in with Seville being your obvious number one. And then you got the competition between Roden and Zab. And I say that because your number 2 is going to be probably the most important goaltender on the roster right now.
Right.
Seville's had problems, and the complaint about him on the NHL sites and the draft sites and that stuff has been, is he going to be able to be healthy enough to be an NHL goaltender?
He was injured this last season, so that's the thing. Now
he's been injured almost every season he's played since Midget Major. He always seems to get an injury, and that's why I say whoever's number 2 is probably our most important.
Right.
Because you have to anticipate that some point in time during our season, he's going to go down and going to miss some games.
Right.
We need someone who can step in and not miss a beat.
See, my philosophy is I think Gabinet, who kind of buys into the great basketball coach John Wooden, who was focused all on process, not on wins and losses and score, just on process.
Right.
I think because he's got a clean slate with the goaltenders, I think he's going to split time early in the season between Seville and Roden, at least, maybe through November with them, until he sees if there's a guy who kind of comes out the clear favorite in that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the practices, because that'll tell you really where they sit, and I'm sure that Gabinet will say that they all have a shot at it, and it's anyone's game, and it's anyone's net, and you just have to go out and earn it, and everything I've seen from Seville is that he's motivated to make a real run at this.
Yeah,
so.
It seems like he has a great attitude. But that was one of the things that Gabinet said last season that was hard for the team. And one of the problems on the team was that there weren't the guys down on the roster just weren't pushing the guys higher on the roster for playing time. And I think that was part of the dynamic that was, just not working.
The other reason why I hope that he's not in your boat with rotating time is, and this is the coaching aspect coming out, is it's rarely successful when teams split, even at the NHL level, when teams split goaltending. You typically want, at worst, 60-40 split on your goaltending time at an NHL level. And that's why you see a lot of these guys that will play 80, 85, pushing, some of them will push 90% of the games for your starter, is because the system's usually designed to move play in a direction that puts your goaltender in the best position to make the save, right?
Right.
So the problem we have is Seville is the weirdest of the weird when it comes to goaltender, in that he catches right instead of catching left.
Okay.
Both the other goalies catch left. So if your system is to bring the puck to one side so that he's blocker against the post, now if you push the play to that side, it's glove against the post, and it changes the angle. I know it's weird and it's probably too technical for a lot of people, but that's my concern, is that the team gets good at doing something, and then what they're getting good at doing ends up hurting them when you put in a different goaltender.
Right. It could potentially change line combinations and everything else. But then again, if you go with my philosophy, which is splitting goaltenders, then it makes you a much more dynamic team. It's potentially difficult because, as we know, this last season, one of the things we heard time and again was it was hard to get guys to buy in to what was going on. So if you had a situation like that where everything was getting changed up from game to game based on the handedness of your goaltender,
right?
Then does it completely throw things off? But it potentially adds another dimension to the team. I think that they will split at least early on, and it goes to what you were talking about injuries. I think they'll want to try to keep Seville fresh for a run in the second half of the season, potentially.
I mean, if you're going to give anyone time, you're going to give it to them in the first part, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but how much will be the question?
That'll be the big.
You definitely want Seville to see every team.
You have a situation where Evan Wenninger basically saw all the time in net for 4 seasons.
Right.
It's hard to imagine a world where we
don't see the same person in the pipe. Yeah.
It really is. So we may, but I think after last season and the 9 wins, I think they're gonna try a lot.
Try to do something.
Yeah.
So what about defense? It looks like maybe a possibility of 4 coming in, probably 3. I think.
Yeah, I have at least Alex Roy, Colby Enns, Brandon Scanlon, who he's the one I'm excited about.
So Scanlon's the top of your list for them coming in, right?
Yeah, he definitely is. He did really, really, really well in the Alberta Junior Hockey League last year. He looks like a good kind of offensive defenseman, so I think you'll see him a lot I think he'll be a fixture on the power play unit. The top power play unit. It'll be interesting to see how he does, but yeah, he's the one I like.
And then Roy is the one
that's the one we talked about him early last season on the podcast, and he's the big kind of size guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean 6'5", 2. Elite Prospects has him at 209. Right. I read somewhere he's already at 217 right now.
And
if he's 6'5", 220, I mean that's a good frame for defense.
Yeah, and you had discussions about him with somebody who knows him well, who's an amateur scout, and they were very high on him. So,
and he's another one that is kind of a sleeper for maybe a late round pick.
Right.
I mean I don't know. A lot of it comes down to. You can be 6'10" if you don't use it right. It doesn't matter. Right. But we'll see. I like the idea of having that kind of big defensive.
Yep.
And we've got a lot of defensemen that are, well, if everyone comes in, we've only got one returning defenseman who's under 6 foot, and he's the isn't he the red shirt guy? Wasn't Claire coming back because he got a med shirt? Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how much playing time he ends up getting. But and then Colby Ends, I don't know a lot about. I mean, I didn't see him play this season in the USHL, so I don't know a lot about him.
Yeah. I don't hear a whole lot about him, so
no.
A depth guy sounds like we'll have there.
Yeah. But
So
no,
what about-
but no, I like
Right.
I said, Brandon Scanlon. I like those. I remember Greg Zanin back in the day, so I like those offensive defenseman kind of guys. So
Right.
that's what he looks like he'll be. So
He's a puck pusher. Yeah.
He is. Yeah.
Which, that'll be great. You get the right guys up front.
Yep.
You can make some pretty quick transitions and stuff with that. Especially with like Tyler Weiss and Taylor Ward. The two of them have some speed, good hands, quick.
Yep.
Especially with the Weiss, he's got the hands to really make some quick passes.
Yep.
So you can move that puck,
Yeah.
tic-tac-toe, really quick with that.
Absolutely.
If it works out the way that you design it up and then you want it to work. So
It could definitely help that transition game.
So what about our forwards then? We've got a lot on the potential list. I've talked about Sullivan. Sullivan's been one that
because you and I saw him
like
play
his game.
last season. Yeah, we liked him a lot.
A little undersized, but he
we
seems
liked
to
him
play
a
a
lot.
good game.
Yeah.
Prokop you mentioned earlier. He's one of the potential picks to keep an eye on.
Yeah, you've got Josh Boyer and Joey Abate. And obviously, that's the one thing that probably has fans scratching their head is that these guys weren't, ranked in the top of the USHL as far as point production goes. I think most of them were like down in the 90s somewhere. Now, that's not necessarily cause for concern, so don't, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, there's been plenty of kids who have come in and, made a heyday in the NCAA, having not been drafted and no one really cared about them until they got here. And it's just sometimes at that age you have to remember there's a lot of physical development that has to go into the players, and some of them are just kind of late developers, and so they don't perform well in that USHL because they just haven't quote unquote grown into their frame, right?
And a lot of it, they're kind of late bloomers, and a lot of it depends on how Gabinet plans to, Gabinet and Noel Bernier and Paul Gerard plan to use them.
And Abate looks like that. Like I look at his stat sheet and stuff, and he looks like one of those kids that maybe is a late developer.
I think so. He's one of those guys that
another 10,
he stands
20
out
pounds
to me.
of muscle. Yeah. I think he'd be a lot better with 10 to 20 pounds of muscle. And the thing is, he gets some good instruction and stuff, and the guys can get him to put that on, and he might surprise a lot of people that way. He may be a flop, he may just, that's the best he is, and that's all we get.
Right.
But you don't know.
You don't know until they're here. And, going back to the Canadian leagues, because as you know, I like Brandon Scanlon of the AJHL. Ryan Brochette was the, number 2 point producer in the BCHL last year. And he's a guy who had originally been recruited by Providence and was set to go there in 2017. And obviously that kind of fell through. So he's set to come here. So he's one of those guys who's had a lot of experience. I hope has a chip on his shoulder. He's a guy who his coaches have said he's kind of a hockey nerd. He's got a high hockey IQ. And he works hard out there. So he's a guy that I'm excited about too. He's a little bit older, but that kind of harkens back to some of the players we had back in the early years of this program. He turned out to be really good players like Jeff Hogan
and sometimes that helps because he's coming in, he's coming into a team of a lot of 20-year-olds, 20-somethings, right? And he is a 20-something, as opposed to an 18, 19-year-old coming in with a bunch of guys that are 2, 3, 4, possibly even 5 or 6 years older than you.
And it's kind of a perfect situation for him because it's not like, a lot of our scoring last season is gone. And so there's an opportunity for him to, make some noise early on.
Yeah. And I think to kind of wrap this up is then to look at it and say, you know, we did lose a lot of our scoring.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
It's
I
hard to tell at
expect
this
Ward
point.
to do well, but the question with Ward's going to be who's on his line, because he was on a line with two guys that aren't here anymore. Can he still produce?
That was the big question, because I mean, you know, Mike Gabinet, you know, gave credit to Mason Morelli and Freddie Olofsson being on that line with him for sure.
Yeah.
And so without those guys, what line combination?
Who do you put with him?
Yeah. Does he perform regardless, or?
Yeah, and I've always said, you know, I've said on this before, like I'm a chemistry guy.
Right.
So for me, it's always like the guys are great on paper, but I want them in practice. I want them going. I want to see who clicks and gels well together and moves the puck well, and that.
It's that dynamic that you're looking for. What kind of dynamic do they have together?
Because then you can take a say 20-point, you know, average a season guy and make him a 25 to 30 point.
Yeah. Because
the guys that are around him pick up where he maybe isn't so good. You know, sometimes you get guys that, this is a classic thing with wings, is you get these wings that don't want to play defense. They're run and gun. They want to be up. So if you can find a puck moving center who's a little bit more stay at home and can play some defense, well, he picks up the slack for him. And when he makes the turnover, he knows he's got this guy lazily coming back, and you end up with odd man rushes. So those types of things you can find in your group of guys coming in. So I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, there's a freshman or two in the top 3 or 5.
Oh yeah, I think that's very likely. Looking at this season, where it's almost half of our roster is going to be new this season. It's like 40-some% of the roster is going to be new this season.
But I expect, you know, Pulkkinen, I expect to be up there. I expect Ward to still be up there. I think Primo will take a leap. I think he'll, you know, be a point producer for us. He showed, especially towards the end of the season, a lot of potential to put the puck in the back of the net.
And I'll say early on in the season, Primo was a guy who looked like somebody that, you know, we were really excited about him. So I think this season coming back fresh, I think
it'll be a good year rested and healthy, which will make a huge difference for him. I mean, we'll see after that. I don't know. Conley, maybe I've heard, you know, that he's really looking to up his production. So that,
and I know that Gabinet had told us before the season, last season, he liked Travis. I'm going to try to get this pronunciation right. Cothenbeetle. I think it was Beetle. I thought it was Butel.
I thought it was Butel too.
But I think it's Beetle. I think somebody told us it was Beetle. He was high on him. So yeah, and hopefully your guy Tyler Weiss has a stronger outing this season, and I think he will.
Like I said, with him,
get a little size, get a little weight on him. Yeah,
I always thought he was little coming in.
Yeah,
but we'll see how he's grown up.
I just think more than anything, I think it'll help having kind of a fresh perspective on the team for Gabinet and Noel Bernier and Paul Gerard. I think it'll be nice having some newcomers who, you know, weren't used to doing things one way and then had to kind of switch to the. I think this will be. I'm confident that this will be a better season for the team.
Stay healthy, and you know, I think for the fans that are listening and stuff, just know that, you know, there's potential out there, and hopefully, you know, some of the names we've dropped and stuff are names that you can kind of keep an eye out for. This fall and next spring, and we'll be hopefully in Minnesota at the Target Center. And
let's. After the last episode of the podcast we recorded with Jason, Bridget and I actually went up to that trip, and it's so much fun to go up to the NCHC Frozen Face-Off. So hopefully we get to go back to the St. Paul, or we've never been to St. Paul, but hopefully I get to go back to St. Paul and see UNO play there.
Yeah. We've got some plans to do some more traveling with the team type of stuff, so we'll see how much all of that can kind of come to fruition
this year.
It
would be awesome to be at the X next March. So fingers crossed. But regardless, just stronger performance this year for the guys, for the coaches. We want that to go well, and we'll be talking about that more before the season start. So,
in fact, pretty quick here because we're going to do one after the draft, right? Did we say that? Are we committing to that?
No, I didn't say no, but well, I guess we're committed to doing it now. So yeah, after the draft, we're going to be back here to talk about something. I don't. Who, so please, UNO, if there's some sort of controversy that can come up in the next week,
please, yeah,
we'll talk about something.
Draft.
Well, we will. Yeah, we'll do a little teaser. We'll talk about the draft and see what Mavs end up going in the draft.
We'll at least talk about Seville.
We'll talk about the fact that the director of hockey operations from last season is no longer with the team.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll come up with some other stuff between now and then.
And we'll drink something interesting.
Yeah, hopefully I'll come up with something better than, hint pineapple water, which just tastes disgusting. It's like tap water with a hint of pineapple. So if you want to keep track of us over the summer, I promise I'll try to post more here over the course of the next couple of months. We've been very busy this summer, but follow @Mavpuck on Twitter. Follow @Mavpuck on Facebook. You can find links to all this stuff at Mavpuck.com. So with that, Jason, until next time,
what do you want?
Go Mavs.
Go Mavs.